It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Do you really want to hurt me? Oh, we're on the air. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. We are Red Eye Radio. I'm sorry, I was just reading the article here.
Yeah?
Pop singer Boy George attacks J.K. Rowling. She cannot differentiate between a trans woman and a biological male. I believe she can.
I think science can.
Yes. I believe she can, and science can. There. But Boy George back in the news.
All right, fine. That's fine. That's great.
Really want to hurt
Hey,
me?
why is he not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, huh?
Do you really want to make it? If Cyndi Lauper is why Boy George should be, right?
Come on. Make it happen.
Oh, wait a minute here.
What? What happened?
Heterophobia.
Well,
HBO's The White Lotus and Minecraft movie star Jennifer Coolidge was asked by a People reporter how her gay friends are different from the general fan base, to which she said, I think heterosexual people are much more self-conscious. We are not. I think gay men and women just let loose and have a blast. They are a superior group of people. Has your heterosexuality taken a hit now?
I don't know.
Do you feel oppressed?
Too old to feel anything pregnant. I don't know what I feel. It's none of my business.
You may have low T.
Yeah. No, I don't have that. I just have low will. I have an acute case of I don't wanna.
I'm just tired all the time.
Come on. Didn't I just do that project? Didn't I just mow the lawn like 4 weeks ago?
Funny stuff. All right, you ready?
All right.
Here we go. Former Attorney General under Trump, Bill Barr, defending the Trump administration. This on going all the way back to Mahmoud Khalil.
Yeah.
Who he said did get due process. Here we go.
The Secretary of State made a determination that his continued presence and activities in the United States pose a serious consequence for American foreign policy, adverse consequence. That's a determination that the Secretary of State makes. Due process only requires that decision be made by the Secretary of State, and it's a defensible position. It doesn't allow for judges to come in and have a trial as to whether they think it's serious consequences. And it's the same thing, by the way, with these Venezuelans. They had process. They had a process in the executive branch where there was a review of their situation, investigation, and their determination made that they were members of TDA. Now, if one of them has evidence that they're not, the proper approach is to go for a writ of habeas corpus and put forward your evidence and have a response to that by the court, some specific showing. But to say that, as this judge has said, is that if the act requires individualized trial-like hearings for every single one, then it just makes a mockery of the statute. The reason the statute is there is to provide, as the Supreme Court has said, a summary way of quickly removing a large number of people.
Bill Barr, and that's on the removal of the Venezuelan gang members and also students who are promoting Hamas.
Right.
So you get both from there.
Well, no, this is what, he's right, because what the left would want to do is bog the system down with these, as he describes it, trial-like hearings that go on forever for each one of them. and it's not required.
Here's Bill Barr still on Fox News talking about illegal immigration and the judges.
And so I don't think there's any question about this, and I think it's time for zero tolerance and getting back to basics, which are that judges and state officials are still citizens, they're subject to the federal law, and they cannot interfere in or impede the federal function. So I'm 100% in agreement with what's done.
There you go.
It's pretty straightforward, is it not?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find the audio cut that I had from here's Jonathan Turley on the judge in Wisconsin. Here we go.
What people have to distinguish here is between the role of the judge and what she did. She was not acting as a judge at that point. She was acting as an individual who was helping the evasion of law enforcement. And what I find perplexing is I understand waiting for the facts to come out. We just got more facts about witnesses who said that this was intentional and the actions that the judge did. But what's concerning are all these Democratic leaders saying that she is this martyr. Well, if it's true that she actively secreted an individual, actively evaded law enforcement, how is that part of the judicial function? Many of us have said that we need mutual respect between the judicial and executive branches, but it goes both ways. She has to earn that respect by reinforcing her role as a judge, not as a participant in alleged illegality.
You know, you and I were talking about earlier Andrew McCarthy, who wrote wrote the book Ball of Collusion, which was a great book on going after Trump and the Russia collusion and everything else. It was a great book. He wrote a column yesterday that I believe I read first and you read after, and I was explaining it to you, and I didn't get a strong response from you. This is off the air.
Yeah.
Until you read it. In the middle of the show, you're like, what's he talking about here?
Well, I had to go back
because it
over
addresses what Turley was talking about and what Bill Barr was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, because, look, there's procedure and there's courtesy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it happens in all over, where, and from the affidavit we're told, in the case of Judge Dugan, that we're told that ICE showed up and gave notice that they were there because they were aware that this person who was wanted for deportation, had deportation orders, was going to be in this place at this time. Now, think to yourself, all right, why would ICE do that? Why would it? Well, my guess is, and I don't speak for ICE, but I would think that the agents involved here in executing this mission here were saying to themselves, that's the best scenario, the safest scenario if they are there. They don't have to cooperate. The locals don't. Andrew McCarthy goes through a number of things about commandeering the courthouse and everything else, which didn't happen here. ICE didn't come in and lock it down and say, and order anybody to do anything. You know, but he's making it for, I guess, an educational purpose for anybody reading this article here at National Review. As a Trump DOJ should know, Judge Dugan has a defense. Well, okay. We understand they're going to put up a defense. I mean, that's a given. But before really getting to the defense, he goes through a number of things, again, that happened here and the scenario, which I don't think was necessary because it didn't go that way. You know, if ICE had come in and ordered the judge, hey, we want you to use all of your resources, you know, he makes the case that would have been commandeering. From what we know, unless we learn something else, from what we know, they came in, gave notification to the judge, waited in the hall. The judge came out. The judge sent ICE down the hall. And then she released the individual that they were looking for, but she also manipulated that situation in sending him out a door he normally wouldn't come out.
Right, and again sent the was sending the agents one way while she helped the illegal immigrant.
Right. When she sent them down the hall. Yes.
Right.
That's
then
an important point.
helped him out a back jury door.
Right.
And so he was trying to make the case that, and I saw this yesterday. Well, when Trump did wrong, he said this was in the purview of his job. Well, none of this was in the purview of her job.
Mm-hmm.
If ICE wasn't there and she just allowed him to walk out the back door, there's nothing there. If ICE was in the hallway and she did not know that ICE was in the hallway and she did not go out and meet the ICE agents in the hallway and then direct them, misdirect them to another particular area that gave her time to go grab the suspect and head him out the back door. If she didn't do all of those things, then she wouldn't have broken any law. There would be no obstruction.
Well, exactly. And,
if she knew that ICE is in the hallway, but she didn't know what for.
Right.
And then said, well, we're done here for the day. And the guy went out the back door. Even if she allowed him not knowing that's what ICE was there for, she might have a defense.
All right. So he writes in part here, National Review, Andrew McCarthy. Federal agents decided to use the opportunity presented by Flores Ruiz's court appearance in connection with the state criminal charges to arrest him federally. It appears that in response to sanctuary policies, the feds have begun to make a practice of this at the Milwaukee State Courthouse. This is the third time such furtive operations have caused a public disturbance. In other words, no notification or anything, they just show up, and then it's caused a public disturbance. Well, but what's at the root of the public disturbance? Because it doesn't serve ICE or federal agents to create a disturbance. That's not safe for the agents executing any mission anywhere, whether it's at a courthouse or on the street or at a private residence. They're not looking to create a disturbance. So what is it that's creating the disturbance? I would ask Andrew McCarthy, and that is what we have seen. And he does make the point in what I just read that sanctuary policies, in response to sanctuary policies, well, they anticipate this. They're not going to give notice when they know these activists are going to go out of their way, and this is what's happened here, according to the allegations, that they're not going to get a chance at this guy. So you show up where he is in that setting, hoping for the safest result to take him into custody with no disturbance. And that didn't happen because of the judge's actions, according to the affidavit and the allegations here. That's what's happened. You make a point. The only disturbance was caused by the judge's action. Exactly. If the disturbance standing in a hallway is not a disturbance, right? If I'm not saying, I understand what these activists, who they are, but she could have said, okay, this procedure, this hearing is over. Gavel it, and he would have gone out into the hallway. They did, by the way, it was an advance notification, but according to the affidavit, and again, we may learn something new if that's accurate and true, that ICE showed up and let the judge know they were there. They weren't in the courtroom, to be clear. And she sent them down the hall. She could have said, well, you're not coming into my courtroom, and this hearing is still underway. You're not going to be, and they said, according to the affidavit, we did no intention of disrupting the hearing itself. She could have gavelled it. He would have walked out into that hallway. They would have had the best opportunity right there without a disturbance to take him into custody. But because of her, it created a disturbance. So, I know the background on Andrew McCarthy and some of the points he's trying to make, But when he says this is the third such disturbance, what's causing the disturbance, Andrew?
Right. 86690 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
USDA's upcoming agricultural trade mission in mid-May focuses on expanded export opportunities in Hong Kong and the Southeast Asian market.
In 2024, Hong Kong ranked as the 18th largest market for U.S. ag products, importing $1.4 billion in goods. As a free port and gateway to South China, Macau, and Southeast Asia, Hong Kong offers strategic access to broader markets.
Foreign Agricultural Service Acting Associate Administrator Mark Slupak says representatives from more than 36 agribusinesses and trade organizations, as well as 5 state ag departments, make up the delegation for the May 12th through 16th Ag Trade Mission.
This trade mission is unique because it aligns with the USA Pavilion at the HOFEX trade show. This dual effort will enhance visibility among regional buyers and allow us to reach more potential customers than either of the events would on their own, and will feature a demonstration kitchen that will use recipes that feature U.S. ingredients during the 3-day trade show.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, an audio cut that I want to play for you and just have your comment on.
All right.
And it's a well-known media member talking about Biden.
Okay. This is going to be fun.
Well, because they're all squirming.
Nah. I really didn't see it. I mean, the question is, where do we go now?
So we'll get to that in just a moment here, but time for Red Eye Radio Sports Talk.
Oh,
not really.
All right,
It's just
sport fans.
Legendary quarterback and sports commentator Boomer Esiason has claimed that NFL owners torpedoed Colorado prospect Shedeur Sanders' draft chances due to his alleged arrogance and entitlement. Esiason claimed on his show that head coaches and owners personally told him that they removed Sanders from their draft boards strictly because of his rhetoric and the culture that he might foster in the locker room. Oh, I think somebody mentioned that a few times.
Yeah.
When you listen to this kid talk right prior or at the combine about how if you want a new culture in your locker room, I'm the guy to do that. I can turn it around. He's very high in himself, and I think he's very off-putting to many coaches and general managers. And I'm telling you right now, and I know this after talking to 3 different personnel people in the NFL this weekend, they didn't even have him on their board. They had they weren't going to draft him at all anywhere. They took him off, and they took him off because the owner said, take him off. I don't want that guy. I don't want this entitled person on our team. I don't want them in the locker room. And Boomer Esiason added, and I don't blame them. The funniest thing, I don't know whether it's true or not, funniest thing was it's like, well, there were some teams that he went and when he interviewed with them, he purposely did a bad interview so they wouldn't take him because there were teams he didn't want. And even his father said, Deion said, well, there's some teams we don't want. And so he ends up with Cleveland.
Yeah, I know. He ends up with the Browns. Good luck. Yeah. Yeah.
That made my day. It's like, and you know something? All of my Browns fans are not that happy.
Yeah, well.
Maybe one of my Browns fans will be.
Yeah,
so
we'll see.
far, it's 0 for 3.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank
All
you.
right, you ready?
Okay, I'm
All right.
ready. Let's go.
He goes on for a little bit here, so
All right.
if you've heard enough, you can say, Gary, stop. Now, this is former CNN reporter, also Washington Post, Chris Cillizza.
Gary, stop. Okay, fine. You can play it.
Let me play just part of the audio cut.
Yeah, fine.
As he suggests the media did not intentionally cover up Biden's mental decline.
Okay.
Listen to the squirming here. All right. Here we go.
I think what happened here is a couple things. So, number one, people say to me all the time, of course it was a cover-up by the media. Just look at Joe Biden. Of course he was out of it. And to that I would say, there is and there should be a much higher bar for a media outlet or a reporter to say that Joe Biden is clearly mentally slower or incapacitated than it is for someone to just say, he has dementia, he has Parkinson's. You can say that. But for the media to report that, it's a very high bar.
Okay, I'm stopping it there. That's not what anybody was asking for.
He's trying to set these standards that it has to be this or that, or people were. It's the straw man argument in this case. The media can report, and the way you would do that. Look, I will say this. I think we said it. We've said it before. I don't like bringing in, like, if they, we found this doctor and this doctor, and what they would, if that doctor hasn't seen the patient, it's hard to get to that. That implies that doctor is making basically a diagnosis, and I don't think you should do that. It is when it's clear that somebody in the greatest position of power in the free world is having moments of cognitive decline, you can report that easily and should. In fact, I would argue it is your responsibility in a free society, if you're doing true journalism, to report it as accurately as you see it.
Yeah, it's not about, I wasn't asking a reporter to make a medical diagnosis.
Exactly. Or even bring on a doctor to make a diagnosis. That's not what anybody was asking.
I was looking for them to ask the White House consistently. The president is clearly not the same person that he was a few years ago.
Right.
He came up. He doesn't remember things. Does he have? And because you know as well as I do, remember, when this all started happening, what did they do last year? Trump's old too, and Trump has cognitive problems. Remember how they came out and started saying this?
Yep.
The surrogates for Biden?
Oh, yeah.
What about Trump? Do you think that if Trump, this is how you know we have a solid point. If Trump was like Biden and was speaking like Biden, do you believe that the media would have any other questions for him at any press conference that he holds?
That would be the only issue, to the point of conversations then quickly going to Capitol Hill about impeachment and removal.
Yes.
Or
25th Amendment.
The 25th Amendment. However the process is going to happen.
Well, no. They'd impeach him because he is not just in cognitive decline, but cognitive Nazi decline. So the Nazi part would get you the impeachment.
And that's where I was going on impeachment. And they would impeach him for lying about his cognitive decline.
and so he's Chris Cillizza there, in essence, is making a straw man. Nobody was asking you to make a diagnosis. They were simply telling you to observe and publicly say what you observed, that everybody else, it wasn't like, we don't have evidence that there's cognitive decline.
Right.
We all saw it.
Right.
And that's how we, with our own families, my father, for example, talked to my dad yesterday, 100%.
Yeah.
Other days, I wonder if there'll ever be a day like I had yesterday.
Yeah.
Because his cognitive decline is pretty significant. Now, we haven't been able to get him in yet just because of the time factor for anything neurological. But obviously, he is having cognitive decline, and he's a lot worse than he was last Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, so in just a little over 4 months, just about 4 months here, well, almost 4 months, 4 months and 4 days. We've seen significant cognitive decline. We know it's there.
Right.
You don't need a doctor to tell you that. You know it. I'm not giving
Decisions have to be made as the caretaker.
Right. I'm not giving you a medical diagnosis as to what he has. There is cognitive decline, and that's the point. Everybody saw it, and you denied it.
Right.
And you didn't ask and you denied it by not asking consistent questions on it all the time to the White House spokesperson when she was out, or even the president himself when he was out. And I used the standard, would they have bombarded Trump with the question if it was Trump? Of course they would have.
They would. And some of them, I don't know how much I put on Chris Cillizza specifically. I'd have to go back to anything that he wrote or said, during the Biden years. But some of them in the media went out of their way, F you if you can't handle the truth, Joe Scarborough.
Yeah, exactly right.
To say it's not only is he not having any cognitive decline, he's more energetic and stronger than anybody, including Tim Walz.
Well, no, that was when he said that, this is the best Biden there's ever been.
And he compared him to, I know some lawmakers on Capitol Hill that can't keep up with him and blah, 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 whatever.
But then when you had the job of the press would be then when his cabinet was out there saying, well, just yesterday he did 27 backflips and he put together the Rubik's Cube in just 5 seconds. And, okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it got to that point where it was, he
picked up Air Force One and changed the tire with bare hands.
His cabinet was out there saying, well, the problem with Biden is the young people can't keep up with him. Yeah. Now, that was such an exaggeration where in any true reporter, that would have set off the signals. What I'm seeing and what they're telling me doesn't match.
Right.
And you would say, what's going on? And you would ask the questions, and they didn't do it.
Well, let's go ahead.
Okay,
keep going.
Okay, continue with it. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And I don't think that bar was met. So, yes, when I watched Joe Biden, the eye test made me think, as I watched him, man, he has really slowed down. And I'm not sure he should run for a second term. It did not make me think, man, he definitely, something is really wrong with him, and I'm going to cover it up so that he can win. No, absolutely not. But I will also add this. That does not, the fact that I do not believe there was any coordinated cover-up by the media of Joe Biden's condition, that does not get us media off the hook, and here's why. I made a video about this before. You can look at it. It's called My Apology for my Joe Biden coverage. The media should have asked more questions about Joe Biden. I should have asked more questions about Joe Biden and his health. We should have dug harder. Because the eye test was what it was, and he looked old and frail, and when he was in public, he would sometimes lose his train of thought, we should have done more reporting. Now, people did. Alex Thompson at Axios did some. The Wall Street Journal political staff did some. People here and there wrote consistently and clearly that maybe he's too old. I tried to talk about his age fairly frequently, but I should have talked about it more, and I should have asked more questions. And then you get to the why of that. Why didn't you ask more questions? And I'm not speaking for all of the media, because all the media is a vast thing. But here's what I would say. Any study that you ever see about who reporters vote for, they vote for Democrats much more than Republicans. And I think what was going on here is I think it was an inherent and sort of unconscious bias more than a conscious bias. I think the reporters covering this White House were too willing to take the Biden team's word for it. Anytime you asked about Joe Biden, they would say, well, I mean, he's 80, he moves a little bit more stiffly than he did before, but man, he is totally with it. He outworks our 20-something staffers. And I think reporters were too willing to just say, okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Right there is what I don't believe. That's the bull.
Well,
that's the bull manure
he's bringing
from
out,
Chris Cillizza.
Yeah, he's bringing out the dad in me. Chris, go to your room, and when you're ready to speak the truth, you can come back out.
Yeah. Now he gets it. I mean, he gets what because
but
initially
he's
he came
all
out
over the place. At first, he's saying, "Well, look, we weren't going to make a judgment," and then he goes into, "But we didn't do our job." Well, that's the whole point. We didn't ask enough questions. Well, what are you supposed to do in the media? Ask questions. Oh, they just took them at their word.
Well, but the
no,
thing
they
is,
helped shape a narrative.
When he was talking about exactly what we talked about when they were saying he runs around, we knew that was all BS. Obviously, he wasn't running circles around all the young people. He wasn't matching them. The incredible wit. In fact, they can't keep up with them. And we accepted that as a truth. Well, then get out of the business.
Right. We were just too willing to accept.
Right.
No.
And he said, that made sense. How did that make sense? When they said he would run laps around anybody, that didn't make any sense.
It didn't make any sense at all.
I know. They're just squirming. And
if you look
trying to weasel out of this.
If you look at Trump's energy has been consistent. Is he getting older? Yeah. By the way, I think he made a comment the other day. A lot of people, the liberal media, he's sitting down more often. Well, he is in the Oval Office. And when Elon Musk was standing up and he was sitting down, he was, he was being subservient to Elon Musk.
But you just hit it right there.
Yes.
That's the standard that the liberal press has for a Republican.
And he's just sitting down.
He's sitting. Is he okay? I can't put a sentence together. He can't put a sentence together. Staff, what do you think? He's running circles around everybody. His mind is quicker. Joe Scarborough said this is the best Biden there's ever been.
This just in.
This makes sense.
This just in to CNN headquarters. It's being reported that President Trump admitted to sleeping on Air Force One while traveling abroad. We believe this is
he was tired
indication
of exhaustion.
We believe this is an indication of him greatly slowing down. I mean, that's where they would go with it.
For he didn't move at all while he was sleeping.
Yes. We believe President Trump slept for an entire 2 hours when we all know he only sleeps for 45 minutes a day. 2 hours is a long time for this particular president. That's how they would cover it. And this is just garbage from Chris Cillizza. It's just garbage. And then they're trying to, and they're still, but at the same time, still trying to do the mea culpa. We should have asked more questions. You were part of the cover-up. Just like lying by omission is lying, repeating what they were giving to you is part of the cover-up. We just forgot how to do our job. Yet Elon Musk's son is in the Oval Office, and you want to go bat soup crazy.
Right. Remember that instant analysis?
Yeah.
Trump was sitting down. Elon Musk was standing up. See, right. Trump feels subservient to Elon Musk.
A young boy was they let him run amok. Nobody runs amok in the Oval Office. I mean,
Trump has disgraced the office.
Right.
It's now amok.
Yes. What does that tell us about Trump?
And amok sounds awfully like Musk.
Exactly. You see where we're going with this?
No.
It sure feels like Russian collusion.
866.
Wow. Seriously. We just forgot to ask questions during the Biden years. What? What's a question? You just asked one. What? You asked another one. Huh?
I'm glad it's the end of the show because
seriously,
I feel like I'm going to start laughing for the next 5 hours. Right. So 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio, and he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, man, I'm telling you, every day is so much fun. I'd like to thank the entire Democratic Party for making this such an easy endeavor to do each and every day.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
For making it where we don't even have to attempt to work anymore.
It's a lot of fun. Thank you, Democrats. It's a lot of fun.
It really is. We may be doomed, but it's
very serious
we're gonna be
topics.
laughing all the way.
But their response, their reaction to things, is it's entertainment.
It really is.
Crazy.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.